Hey guys, welcome into Steelers Talk. I wanted to get in front of the camera, in front of you guys today here, because I've been having a couple days off here after Christmas Day, and I've been going over the film, been going over the stat sheet, and just kind of taking a step back, cooling down, and kind of just seeing where I'm at with this football team here at the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024. And I wanted to get in front of the camera today, just let you guys know my thoughts before I get back in studio tomorrow and before we get ready for Week 18 against the Cincinnati Bengals and get ready for whatever playoff game the Steelers are going to be playing this year. So before we get into my thoughts here, I'm going to be talking about Mike Tomlin, going to be talking about Russell Wilson, going to be talking about this team as a whole throughout the course of this video. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We provide you guys free and informative Steelers content on this channel every single day. So I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting me, supporting Coop, supporting Steelers Talk here at Chat Sports. Without further ado, let's get into this kind of discussion here, because I got a number of points I want to discuss on today's show. First of which, I want to talk about Mike Tomlin, because there's been a lot of discourse here over this 3-game losing skid about, is Mike Tomlin the right guy to lead this Steelers organization after 18 years at the helm now? 7 division championships, soon to be 12 playoff appearances. The highest win percentage in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that includes both Chuck Noll and Bill Cowher, who are NFL Hall of Famers, and then also 0 losing seasons in 18 years. And I know people scoff at that and people dismiss that, but that absolutely matters. In the National Football League, a league built for parity, a league built for an ebb and flow of success. The Pittsburgh Steelers, just are an organization that really is never terrible. And, as much as Steelers fans and we can complain about not necessarily getting to the NFL's elite of the elite, and kind of quote unquote living in mediocrity under Mike Tomlin, I do think that it's something to be said here that, in a league built for parity, you're always getting a consistent competitive product and you're always having a chance to win. Especially, in certain years like Big Ben getting hurt, having to play Duck Hodges, and despite that still getting to, an at least 500 record, and having that consistent winning culture over the course of almost 2 decades. That is certainly something in the column for Mike Tomlin. I think that that's more than fair to give him. Now, with that being said, I do understand why some people want to fire Mike Tomlin or want to start fresh or think he's a good coach, but maybe his messaging is getting stale. And I do think that there is a reason why, the playoff narrative surrounding Mike Tomlin exists. He's gone to the playoffs 11 times. It's soon to be 12 times here. And in those 11 playoff appearances, they've only won games in 4 of those 11 appearances. So that's 7 one-and-done playoff appearances for Mike Tomlin as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, for an organization and for a fan base with extremely high standards, this is the best team in the National Football League. We should never be, just be okay making it to the playoffs. I certainly understand that argument, man. Just less than 25% of Mike Tomlin's seasons have resulted in a playoff win. Now, that 23.5% of seasons that do end up getting a playoff win is higher than most NFL teams have. But, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? I understand why some of these fans and some people in our community here want to see a higher number than 23.5% of your seasons resulting in a playoff victory. And of course, Tomlin has 3 AFC Championship game appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and 1 Super Bowl championship to his name. But, the 7 one-and-done playoff appearances, especially lately, not having a playoff win since 2016, certainly understand the frustration, certainly understand why some people think, it's never going to happen with Mike Tomlin as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially now that you've had 3 straight losses to playoff caliber teams this season and what appears to be another quote-unquote Tomlin late season collapse. Of course, we saw 2018, 2019, 2020 all end in a similar fashion as we're seeing right now, where there's quite a few losses at the end of the season, followed by an early playoff exit. We hope the Steelers win a playoff game this year, but certainly following a trend here with Mike Tomlin. Some other things that I think that are more than fair to criticize Coach T with is that he's not a particularly good game manager. We've talked about on this channel multiple times throughout the season. It's not a strength of his. It's never been a strength of his. He's not a good game manager. It doesn't matter how long he's the head coach. He's always mismanaging timeouts. He is mismanaging the game at times. He's punting at certain times that seem a bit head-scratching in the second half at times as well. And that's always been an issue with Coach Tomlin. Also, he has whiffed on a number of offensive coordinator hires. I mean, he's hired from within a million times. He doesn't really branch out. And then the one time he has branched out here, bringing in Arthur Smith, I think Art's been an improvement from what was here before, but I'm not sure if it's necessarily, Ben Johnson or, Bobby Solk, his first year in Houston, or, a really good creative hire that's really pushing the envelope of offensive schematics. Arthur Smith runs a pretty basic, second generation West Coast offense. And, his drop back passing game leaves a lot to be desired. His personnel usage leaves a lot to be desired. So even though, Arthur Smith has been fine, I think that, the hire of him certainly has question marks as well. So those are all the credible critiques of Mike Tomlin, and the reasons why I think, I understand why people are in this comment section saying, I want a new fresh start. And, I completely understand that. But the reason why I ultimately disagree with it, and why I think that I'm not at the point where I want to see Mike Tomlin fired or let go or traded or anything like that, is because he is a master motivator. That's number one. Consistently gets his players and gets his teams to buy into the culture, buy into the team dynamic, and to stay locked in throughout the course of an entire season. We've seen over the last couple of seasons some slow starts for the Pittsburgh Steelers under the Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky regime, and then they get hot at the end of the season. We saw it last year with that 3-game winning streak to get into the playoffs. We saw it 2 seasons ago when they won 6 of 7 to knock on the door of the postseason. And you can't do that unless your head coach is doing an excellent job keeping guys locked in throughout the course of an entire season. So I think that Tomlin is a master motivator, keeps guys locked in. He's the alpha in the room. He's got that charisma. He's got that kind of quality that people don't want to let him down in the building. All right. And that's something that I think is invaluable. And I think that's the number one job of an NFL head coach. And Tomlin does it better than just about anybody in football. And then the second thing is he's actually a really, really good defensive mind as well. It's kind of an old school defense, kind of like the old school Tampa 2 back in the early 2000s, where they play a lot of cover 3 on early downs to stop the run. Then they'll throw in the Tampa 2 on second and long and in third in passable situations. Then they throw together some Dick LeBeau, fire zone blitzes and, all these different things they like to do with their pressure looks on third downs. And that's been the Mike Tomlin defense forever. That's what they're still running under Terrell Austin. And, it's a very assignment-based defense. And just lately we haven't seen, players, Cam Sutton, doing a good job executing those roles in this defense. So I still think Tomlin is the right guy. I think that they're going to keep him because of, the resume and, the overperformance of this year in terms of the wins and losses, the playoff appearance. I just don't think after extending him that the Steelers are going to let him go. But I can, like I said, throughout this kind of tangent here, guys, I do see why some people are getting tired of the Mike Tomlin regime and kind of same song and dance that we've been seeing here over the last couple of years. So make sure you guys get down there in the comment section. Should the Steelers fire Mike Tomlin? Simply give me a yes or a no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Okay, now that we've gotten the Tomlin thing out of the way here, I want to go over some of my takes on the team here in 2024. And what this fan base can expect from this team moving forward. Is it just going to be another loss to Cincinnati and then a clear blowout loss in the playoffs, or does this team actually have a chance to turn things around? And I think that the reality is, once I've looked at the film here, I've looked at the trends, I've looked at everything throughout this season over the last couple of days to kind of reset for this kind of late season push here, is that the Steelers are a good football team. They are. They've got the talent. They've shown a lot of good things on film this year. They've beaten good teams. Before this 3-game skid, they were 5-0 against teams that currently have a winning record. So they can beat good teams. They've shown that. And I think that, this isn't a bad team that has gotten exposed the last 3 weeks. I think it's a good team that hasn't played to their ability in the last 3 weeks. And, you can seek comfort in whatever excuse or explanation you want for that. You can point to injuries. You can point to refereeing. You can point to the NFL screwing the Steelers with the schedule. But honestly, guys, none of that really matters to me. All right. The Steelers just need to play better football. All right. And they understand that. Mike Tomlin and the people in that locker room are the first people that will let you know. That's why there was so much frustration in the post-game press conferences and in interviews after the Chiefs games, because they know what they're capable of. They know how good of a team this is, and they just haven't been playing to their standard the last 3 weeks. So I think that there's absolutely an opportunity to get back to that, kind of dominating level on defense, right? They've given up the last 3 games 24 or more points. I think they only did that twice, before this 3-game skid. They've allowed less than 20 points 8 times this year, but they've only done that once in the last 7 games. So, this defense and this team in general just needs to play better assignment football. And, plain and simply, guys, I think we all understand here, the Steelers defense needs to get better. This is a team that's built with the defense. It's the most expensive defense in football. And, when they were holding teams to 13, 10, sometimes even 6 points in games this year, obviously they were winning football games because that's what they want to do. They want to shut down opposing offenses, and then they want to play good enough offense where you win the football game. That's how this team is built, and if this Steelers defense doesn't step up in the weeks to come, it's going to be over, man. The Steelers are going to be toast. Now, you got the talent on there. We've seen this defense play extremely good football, just haven't seen it as much lately, and they've been giving up a lot more points. So what do you attribute that to? Do you attribute that to injuries? Sure. Do you attribute that to a tough schedule and maybe they're a bit tired? Sure. But at the end of the day here, guys, once you get Joey Porter Jr. back for the postseason, hopefully they make some adjustments here on the back end in terms of personnel. And hopefully, the assignment-based football that we saw earlier in the season here, where people were communicating, people were doing their job, all these different things. They weren't playing hero ball. Hopefully that returns for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're not talking about, all this missed assignments that we're seeing on the Steelers defensive film right now. Another thing that I want to point out here, guys, on the other side of the ball here on offense is that, Russell Wilson and the Steelers offense actually wasn't as bad as the just 10 points on the scoreboard suggested on Wednesday. I thought the interception, was kind of on Russ, but also kind of on George Pickens for not running his vertical route. There was a special over the middle of the field to Muth. Russ looked off the safety to the right, then pulled the trigger without confirming the backside safety. But to his mind, he thought George was running that vertical. And pre-snap, that safety was playing a bracketed look against GP. So as far as Russ knew, based on the pre-snap look, Muth should have been open. So, Russell Wilson, I thought, did some really good things on Wednesday, actually. Hit some intermediate routes. I thought he was really good with his pre-snap processing, threw with some anticipation, threw a nice one to Calvin Austin III on a 3rd and long. And, I think that he made some good plays. Now, did he play a perfect game of football? No. But, is it the type of football where I'm like, Russell Wilson completely sucks and there's no way he can get back to the level of play that we saw from him earlier in the season? No, I think that, against Cincinnati, a team that he put up 44 points against just a few weeks ago, I think he's going to have a very good game against that really bad Cincinnati defense. So I'm looking forward to Week 18 here with Russ in this offense having a chance to regroup with George Pickens back. I do think this offense is going to bounce back in a big way in Week 18 and hopefully in the postseason too, especially because the run game kind of got some momentum against the Kansas City Chiefs. If you're going to look for a bright spot offensively for this team in that Chiefs game, it's that Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren combined for over 140 rushing yards, and then Jaylen added another 40-plus receiving yards. So, that running back duo is getting going because the offensive line is starting to get more and more cohesive. Hopefully that group continues to get better and better and better, because they're going to need that offensive line to be really good if they're going to have any sort of playoff run here in 2024. But the run game, having over 140 between the top 2 backs, was huge. And the receiving yardage from Jaylen Warren certainly points to him being a bigger and bigger part of this offense as we get down the home stretch. So, I look at the defense. They have the talent, but they're not executing right now. So it's about getting back to that level of execution. If they do that, they can absolutely be that dominant defense we saw earlier in the season. And then on offense, I'm seeing some good processing and stuff from Russell Wilson. And then I'm seeing some good stuff from the run game as well. So I'm hoping to see a bounce back on both of those sides of the ball. You do have an extended break here after that Wednesday game to get yourself ready for Cincinnati. I think the Steelers have a really good chance of winning that game. You give Mike Tomlin ample time to prepare for a football game. His team usually wins the game. So I think the Steelers have a really good chance of winning the season finale at home, kind of catapulting them hopefully in a positive direction towards a playoff game, whether that be home or away, against whoever they end up playing. So I think that's pretty much what I've got for you guys today. Defense, I think that they need to execute better. They're still running the same schemes as before. I think that the whole fire Terrell Austin thing is a bit overblown just because it's Mike Tomlin's defense. I understand why some people are upset and want to look for a scapegoat there, but honestly, they've been running the same stuff that they've been running for over, just about almost 2 decades under Mike Tomlin. It's just a matter of executing, doing your job, being in the right place at the right time, and the Steelers defense just hasn't been doing that. So hopefully Austin and Tomlin and all these guys can get these guys in the right positions. I think that you play Corey Trice Jr. more on the outside. He looked really good against Kansas City. Dante Jackson has fallen off a little bit based on what I watched on film on Wednesday. He needs to play better, man. I know he's gotten a couple interceptions, some opportune moments for him this year, but he needs to play better in coverage. It's been a problem for him all year, and with Joey Porter Jr. out of the lineup, Dante's got to play better. Then another thing here is I think Cam Sutton needs to get off the field. Cam Sutton has been absolutely atrocious. He's been playing a lot of hero ball. He's been out of position a ton, and you can see the frustration with everybody that's playing around him, man, because he's not picking up the signals, he's not communicating, and it's just not a good look for the Steelers defense when Cam Sutton is out of position. So I think Beanie Bishop Jr. needs to be your full-time starting slot from now on. I think Corey Trice Jr. needs to be playing full-time opposite of Dante Jackson because James Pierre is just not it, and then you got to get Joey Porter Jr. back fully healthy for the postseason. If you do those things, I think the Steelers defense has a pretty decent chance of returning to their dominant level of play that they had earlier this season. Because, you look at the defensive numbers earlier in the year, the first half of the year, they were absolutely dominant. So they still got the same players in there. They just got to get back to that level of play in order to make a run in the postseason. And then on offense, just got to continue to grow and continue to try to limit the turnovers. That's been a big issue for the Steelers these last 3 weeks. If they just hang on to the football in the fourth quarter, who knows how some of these games actually end up going. So I'm thinking that, at least I'm hopeful at this point that the Pittsburgh Steelers can turn things around here in Week 18 and heading into the postseason. But let me know where you guys are at right now when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you think the Steelers will win a playoff game? Do you think there will be another one-and-done exit here from Mike Tomlin? Let me know what you guys are thinking down there in the comments section. But I thank you guys for stopping by today. I know today was a little bit of a longer one. I'm just sitting here and I'm just kind of unloading some of my thoughts with you guys here on a Saturday. Tomorrow, I'll be back in studio with the full studio graphics and all that great stuff. We got some good content getting ready for you guys. And then we're back live on Steelers Talk Live on Monday to preview this Week 18 matchup versus the Cincinnati Bengals. So I thank you guys so much for all of your support. I will see you guys tomorrow. And until then, here we go, Steelers.